Hello, everyone, and welcome to Zest Zen with me, Shel Marie, the podcast that will take you on a journey from the hustle to the harmony, fueling your passion and finding your peace. Today, I am so excited to welcome a woman who truly lives by what she teaches, Colinda Latour. Colinda is a self-love coach, a speaker, the author of Living in Love. But what really stands out about her isn't just what she's created, it's the journey behind it, which we're going to find out all about. A journey of coming home to herself. Wow. Of choosing to stop looking outside for validation and instead becoming the source of love that she was actually searching for. This is such a topic so dear to my own heart, so I am so excited to find out more about this. So she stops settling, and she advises women to stop settling, stop chasing, and to instead become the one that you want to attract, or just embody and become. The kind of woman who stands in her work, owns her story, and creates a life that actually feels like love. Wow. What I love the most about Colinda is how real she is. She's walked through her own patterns, questioned her stories that shaped her, and decided to do the deep work. And as a lot of us know on this self-love journey, that is some deep work that we have to unpick. So it's the kind that shifts everything from the inside out, which we will talk more about. So today we're going to explore that and much more, such as the power of self-responsibility and the courage it takes to turn inwards. So without further ado, I am absolutely delighted to welcome the beautiful Colinda.
Hello, Shel. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited about this and really excited we met and just decided to go for it like that. This is
Absolutely. I'm really thankful for you contacting me and saying yes. That's what it's about, saying yes. So thank you so much. So is there anything you would like to share like that's on your mind right now, or would you like me to ask you some information based on what I've discovered about you so far?
Well, I'll share one little thing and then yes, please do go ahead with some questions. I think really my message, well, really what I want to do is spread love to 10 million people, because I honestly believe simple acts of love can change the world. And the more people that do loving things, the more loving our world will be. And it's quite simple.
So beautiful. No, this is the thing. Actually, when it's said like that, and I love the word that you used, simple, it sounds so simple, but as we all know, as I kind of touched on in the introduction, which I'm sure you're going to fill us all in about, is often I found, like, quote me, correct me if you think different about this, but often I found is sometimes the most simple things are actually the hardest, because they really bring out, like, they just bring out something much deeper than the actual simple act. So I would love to know your opinion on that.
So, yes, I did use the word simple because sometimes people may say easy, and you're right. It's not always easy to do these things, right? Simple acts of love can be a very, easy gesture of just simply smiling at somebody as you pass them by. A simple act of love towards yourself could be a self-hug, which I do daily, multiple times a day. But doing the heavy lifting, or what I call it, can sometimes be difficult. You're right. But what I love about the methodology that I've come up with is that when you're putting love into action, simple acts of love throughout your day, deliberately and consciously, it makes that heavy lifting that much easier. And I will use the word easier then, because imagine you're walking around and, 1 minute you're, let's say, sending loving kindness to somebody. Half an hour later, you're washing your hands with love, which I call love in the mundane, right? An hour later, you're doing a quick 5-minute meditation just for you, so you can have a pause and rest and reflect. Maybe an hour later, you're sending a message of love to one of your friends. Beautiful. Now imagine you're keeping that sustained feelings of love throughout your day. And of course, we can't stay in those high vibration states all the time. But if you are doing these acts of love deliberately and consciously throughout your day, and then something happens, like a meeting goes wrong, or somebody cuts you off in traffic, chances are you're not going to deal with those in the knee-jerk reaction way that you will before. So the same goes when you're wanting to do that heavy work on yourself, perhaps take a deeper look at what are my patterns, what stories am I telling myself that don't serve me? You can look at those in a gentler, more loving fashion because you've been adding love throughout your day. So it may not always be easy, but it certainly helps simplify it and just make it a little bit more cushier, maybe a little softer.
Absolutely. Wow, I love that. And obviously, I'm trying to tap into previous me to really get out the juiciness, that people need to hear. Because, so for example, whether we're aware of it or not aware of it, when we start the self-love journey, what I found was that so before the self-love journey, I'm not saying everybody, but often we're people pleasers, most of us. And so obviously people are very used to us just being there, Beth and Co, and it was a lot of energy, and also someone expects you to be a certain way. So what I found, and I would love to know your take on this, is when then I was transitioning, whether I was aware of it or not, you almost are then presented, even though like what you say of pouring into yourself, which is 100% so important, I found that then when I kind of pulled back the reins, and it wasn't then like cutting love off for others, but I feel like when you're going through it and you've kind of just almost chasing just scraps of love to just have any love, and then you're kind of like realizing, no, actually, I don't want to feel like this anymore. I'm going to give it back to myself. What then I personally noticed was that kind of everything around me then reflects that I'm selfish. I'm, the complete opposite to what you're embodying. And I feel like, I'd love to know your opinion on this. I feel like you have to go through that transition, I would say. And it's not that you're then cutting off to other people, but like, it's kind of like an addiction. I feel like you're doing the same thing, and then you're kind of having withdrawal a little bit. And I feel like it's almost like what I noticed, I had to almost be boomeranged back so far to then come back again and be like, no, I can do this with healthy boundaries. But because it was so this end and that end, it's like I didn't know the happy medium. So it's almost like I did have to go probably from their perspective, like, oh, she's selfish, she's this, she's that, because I was like, no, actually, I'm not going to just drive to your house every single time and then buy everything or whatever, which was not pointing fingers at other people. That was all the things that I had created in my life. But then the moment I stopped paying for everything, stopped kind of being the one that always drove the 2 hours to go meet them and, things like that, it was then all of a sudden I noticed like either friendships were cracking or there was a different response that I was receiving. So it's kind of like I had to almost pull back so far to then be like, okay, no, I'm good in myself now that I filled myself up so much now. That I can outpour again, but this time consciously and more mindfully. So I'd love to know what you think about that.
I think it's true. I believe when we grow, right, we're going to but we're going to lose certain people in our lives, right? They are going to fall away, and they may come back or they may not, but it's also because we're changing and we no longer reflect that energy that they're attracted to or something like that. But I completely understand where you're coming from, because you're right. When you are so used to giving and giving, and you're right, many people that are my clients and that I've worked with and that I have friends with and things like that, they're people pleasers. right?
Yeah.
And they give and they give and they give. And I think I'm going to go out on a limb here, but I think a lot of women give and give and give and give and and don't get the same in return often. But again, that's also our choices to do that. And so when we make that choice to no longer be that person anymore, to set those boundaries and then maintain them, then that can often be met with like, well, wait a minute, you're being
Yeah.
selfish. You used to do this for me and now you don't. And honestly, if somebody's taking a look at that and they can see how setting boundaries is improving your life, making you healthier, happier, like you said, your cup is full. It overflows. You can serve better now because you're replenished, right? You're not depleted. That those people you probably don't want in your life anyways. And so if they fall away, they fall away. If they respect you, then they'll stay.
Yeah, and I think sometimes you've got to go through that season or whatever we want to call it of you kind of, I feel like you might even experience a bit of both. So for example, at first it's kind of like everything's so conditional. And that's the thing is even when I realized I was giving, I realized I was giving from a place of an expectation. Whereas now I don't do it from that place. I do it because I want to do it. Whether they return it back or not, I'm not counting the coffees. I'm not counting the times we've met up. Whereas before, unintentionally, because I was seeking something much deeper than the actual act I was doing. Even though I didn't know that until now, I realized I was doing that because I wanted this, which is transitional, which actually is the reason why often I think then we have to have this almost collapse or something to learn that that's not how we should be receiving love. Like we should be giving love to ourselves and to others unconditionally, and that's definitely not accepting everything, but just from a place of like, I want to do this, I don't have to do it, I want to do it. And so to just go back to what I said, that's when I noticed that these people did come back, because then they valued me, not what I gave to them, which was beautiful. Exactly. But it was a very long process, and to start with, a very lonely process, which I think is something that happens because you literally have to learn to love yourself and respect yourself. Because I realized I was actually running from me and my company, and I had to be like, do you know what? I love you so much, and because how can someone else enjoy my company or love me if I don't love me?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I agree completely. And it's true. You must go through that journey, right? And or if you choose to, right? You mustn't, you don't have to, it's up to you. But I believe if more people went through the journey of self-love, again, our world would be a different place. Because what I found is that in my particular journey, yes, I started the road of self-love many years ago, but I reached a point where I reached a plateau. And I wanted to progress, but I wasn't quite sure how. I wanted to become love. I wanted to operate from a place of love. So it went beyond the self, right? It went to, how can I encompass the state of being that I believe we're all meant to be? We come from love. We will return to love. Why not be love in between? So I thought to myself, well, how do I become love? And me being a doer, an action taker, I went, well, maybe to become love, I must do love. And that's when I came up with the 31-day full-on love challenge. And I gave myself 10 acts of love per day for 31 days. And that is what inspired my book, Living in Love, and changed my life, made me become a self-love coach. Because even though I'd started my self-love journey before that, it wasn't until I immersed myself in so much love for myself, love for others, love to just raise the vibration of love and the awareness of it, that what happened to me was magical. I mean, so many love side effects, as I call them, but just touching on what you said previously is that you become so full of love when you're putting it into action throughout your day that it automatically spills over. And you may have these healthy boundaries, but you know what? You're still giving. Yeah. You are giving love like no other, because that very energy and essence of love is exuding and radiating from your body. We know the heart gives off an electromagnetic field, right? And if you are focusing on heart-based emotions, love-based emotions, imagine that field that's going out there into the world. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so beautiful. And I 100% everything you're saying, I agree with it. Like what they say, it's often behind the scenes that the most impact is being created. So I really love that. Thank you. And to just touch on what you said, which is an extension to the other thing that I said about then kind of it almost as a 360 of everyone coming back round. There's also, when those kind of situations emerge and something comes up, there's because like what you say, you're just embodying love and being love, it doesn't matter. It's like, okay, well, do you know what, actually she's saying, my friend or whoever it is okay, they're not having the best day today, but you know what, I'm still going to give them love. I'm not going to return the same energy, because actually, fighting fire with fire is not going to work. They just actually probably just want a hug. They probably just want someone to just, whatever it is. And that's what I noticed as well, is when you're in these situations where I like to call it fire, not negativity, where fire comes at you, not to diminish fire because I love fire, but I feel like you just send back love and it just diffuses. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible how it happens. And I love that you said about your challenge, because that was one of the questions I was really intrigued about. Wow, so 10 acts of kindness for 31 days.
Yeah, so they were acts of love towards myself, like I said, towards others, and then just to raise the awareness. And the thing is I didn't just do one. Like, let's say hugging myself was an act of love. I did that at least 3 times a day, right? Send 5 messages of love to people.
Beautiful.
It was like meditation, loving kindness meditation, something I call luscious, luxurious love moments. Now, those were just for you. And those are those moments that just make you go like, yes, I love it. And I did 3 of those a day. And those are just can be like a 5-minute snuggle with your cat or your dog or your partner, or a little extra lie in. For me, it was long hot showers. I love my hot showers. So once in a while, I treat myself to an extra long one, And what I also found in this challenge is that, yes, you're immersing yourself in love, but you're able to also notice patterns. You're able to notice things about yourself. So I just mentioned the luscious, luxurious love moments. On day 3 of the challenge, I noticed, hey, I'm leaving all 3 of those until the evening. Why am I leaving acts of love towards myself later than the acts of love towards others or things like that? And it made me, okay, well, why is that? Okay, so I still have a much easier time showing other people love than I do myself, even though I've progressed in my self-love journey and I'd reached a point. There were still limits. And so, you know what I did on day 3? I said, okay, from this day forward in this challenge, 2 of the luscious, luxurious love moments have to be done before noon. I forced myself gently and lovingly to make sure that I did take time for myself. And I did that for the rest of the month. And you know what? It solidified something in me. It made me realize, no, actually, Colinda, you must put yourself first, obviously not always and in a selfish way, but in the way that fills your cup. Beautiful. Again, so it just overflows. And the thing that I found, another thing that I just wanted to mention that I found about this challenge is that the more love I did, the more love I wanted to do. The more love I sent out there, the more love I got back, and the more love I wanted to send out. I actually ended up adding more love actions into my days. I did them more than I said I would, because the feeling was addictive. Love is contagious and addictive. And you know what? Why not be addicted to that, or have a contagion that is love, as opposed to the other things in the world that, are a far cry from that. If I can be addicted to anything, I want to be addicted to love, please.
Beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. So just thinking about that, and it's not saying like, because we all have our different journeys, but I'm just trying to think of maybe a range of listeners that might be listening. So for example, like when we kind of have, I like to call it like our sacred sanctuary, our safe haven, and we can kind of, we're in positions where maybe we can listen to a beautiful course or a challenge, or sign up to something, or have this incredible coach that we can have daily access to. I would love to know your opinion for, say, people who are in situations where maybe their home isn't always a place where, because I think, I can agree, like the hot showers, all that, which are so beautiful. And I love that you mentioned that, because that's really what I found from your challenge as well, is really learning to know about yourself. Because I feel like mine would have been opposite to yours, because I almost went so much into my own cocoon of knowing so much about myself that I felt kind of on top of the world, invincible. And then it's when I kind of reintegrated back, I noticed I had the lessons come back that I had to be like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And it was then me having to remember, Shelley, right? Remember, go back and integrate it, and remember in a loving way, from a place of love. So I know I've just said two things there, but so to go back, so with those people who maybe are in more trickier transitions in their life, that know ultimately that they need to make a change, what kind of advice would you give to people like that?
Are these for people on their self-love journey, but maybe just in a difficult time? Is that what you're thinking?
So they know, like, for example, I think there comes a point where you recognize the pattern of outsourcing all the time. Because I think in order to recognize self-love, it has to go back to knowing that you're giving it all away, essentially. If we think of it from that perspective of, but maybe, I don't know, maybe they're finding it tricky to, like, maybe their environment or the way it's set up is I don't know, like, what would your opinion be for that?
Well, I think for anyone, if their environment may be a bit tricky, or even just their external or their internal environment as well, right? Because your internal environment is going to reflect your external environment. Not all the time, because some environments you're stuck in that you don't necessarily have a choice, right? But in the sense that if you're a child growing up, you're in that parent's home, is what I mean, right? We do have choices.
or like a housemate or something. So I'm remembering I was blessed with my own apartment, my own place to paint and dance and have a nice hot bath. But I'm trying to think back to, like, earlier days where maybe I needed it the most, and maybe I was in a house share or something where there's someone that is playing music till silly o'clock at night or things like that, and you're trying to go on this journey, but also being presented with the reality of situations in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, do what works. I think too, headphones are always good, especially for
I love that.
But I mean, for me too, like, meditation was the first thing that I have to say was my biggest self-love gift, right? That was the thing that started my journey all those years ago down self-development and self-growth, like, really committed to it. And that's when I first started discovering that, oh wow, self-love is actually a thing. And to meditate, I've basically been meditating daily for about 8 or 9 years. And you're right, the environments may not be conducive to that all the time. So do what you can in the space and the time that you have. Beautiful. If it means that it's 30 seconds of closing your eyes, and maybe it is the hum of your roommates or your flatmates' music or something in the background, but you can still take that little bit of time for yourself. Or if you can escape and go outside for a walk, maybe you live in the city and it's still just as loud. Again, put some headphones on, put some music on. I mean, there's so many things available now. Like, for me, one of the things that I listen to quite frequently are what they're called solfeggio frequencies, right? And those are frequencies that are tuned to a different, what's the word I'm looking for? Octaves and stuff like that. So 528 hertz, that frequency is also known as the love frequency or the miracle frequency. So, go on YouTube, stick a headphones on, and just give yourself peace that way. Or if you are doing these loving things for yourself, but your environment may be a bit chaotic and stuff, just know that you have the power to go inside and be calm at any time.
Absolutely.
And a great way to do that, like I said, is just give yourself a hug. Show yourself some affection. If you're in a place where you're not receiving that physical touch or the physical affection from others, you can do it yourself, but we're trained not to, right? Don't, don't wrap your arms around you. That's crazy. Like, don't give yourself a hug. Who does that? And if hugging yourself seems a bit too far-fetched right now, just start with gently caressing your hand, then your arm. Just feel that skin. Give yourself that affection. You can be on a bus to work. You could be in a workplace that's a bit chaotic and stuff, and just doing that can bring you back down a bit.
That's absolutely beautiful.
There's breathing too, right? We can always return to our breathing, and there's one exercise I call heart breathing, and that's simply breathing into your heart. So you inhale into your heart, and on the exhale, you send that breath throughout your body. That loving energy from your heart, send it through all the cells, flooding all of them with love. And that can be done with 1, 2, 3 deep breaths. And the beauty of that is you can send love to yourself physically. You can say, oh, I love you, you're amazing. Or I send love to my back, my legs, my whatever. It's a beautiful practice that always returns you to yourself, to your heart, and to the love that you have and can have for yourself.
That's absolutely beautiful because, even in that simple act, because I guess it goes back to if we're finding it a little uncomfortable to hug ourselves or to caress ourselves, then I'm not saying that then is the reality with someone else, but if you're giving that love to yourself, it just is so much easier to outsource it to someone else. And actually, one of the biggest, I found, transformational things that I did, which was not easy to start with, was actually looking at myself in the mirror and really seeing myself. I realized for nearly 30 plus years, I was doing my makeup, doing my hair, make sure something's not in my teeth, but I actually did not know what I looked like. And I remember hearing, it was actually from, I was listening to Lisa Nichols, and she said, tell yourself you love yourself. And I was like, that's easy. I'm always looking at this, like, easy, when you're on the thing, oh, that's easy. And I could not do it because it wasn't just tell yourself you love yourself, look in your eyes. And I realized I never actually looked in my own eyes. And it was, really powerful, and not easy. And then it's ironic how another experience will come round, and I went to this event, and then I'm sure you know about this, but eye gazing. So I swear sometimes I get put in situations because I don't read it properly, and then but I need that experience. And I'm there thinking, oh, it's on top of the mountain, like we're going to be like gazing out over the view or something. Eye gazing. I've literally took it so literally, not lying down parallel with another human that I do not know, a stranger, staring deeply into their eyes for 20 minutes. And again, I was like, wow, I thought I had been intimate in my relationships. I had this person now, this stranger I've been the most intimate with. And it was just, that's when you really heart to heart, soul to soul, whatever we want to call it, you feel the real true essence of that other person in front of you. And they were just crying. And then it's odd because I felt like the pillar holding the space and just kind of being like, with no talking, like, yeah, it's okay, I've got you. And I was just like, wow. Yeah, I don't think I've ever, like any of my partners, ever really looked deeply into their eyes. And that was definitely a very transformational moment for me.
It sounds like it. I mean, that sounds just phenomenal. And to have that connection with somebody else. But to go back to the mirror work, that was one of my love actions in my book as well. And I learned that one from Louise Hay. She's famous for her mirror work, but Lisa Nichols does it as well too. I love Lisa's stuff. She has a few mirror work things that I as well say to myself. But when I first looked in the mirror and uttered those words, I didn't believe them. I didn't. So, the famous saying, fake it till you make it. I went back to that mirror every day, 2, 3, 4 times a day. And I said, I love you. I love you. And for those people, again, my readers or for clients and stuff, what I tell them is if those words are too hard, if it's too painful to say, then you say something like, I'm ready to love you.
Oh,
Or
that's beautiful.
other
Yes.
people love me, I can love me too. So you work
Mm.
your way up to it. I mean, unlike me or you who just did it and just kept saying it until we believed it.
Dive in.
Yeah, exactly. There's different ways you can do it as well. You can approach it slightly different, but I love the one I'm ready to love you. I'm ready to love you
That is
because I
absolutely beautiful. Thank you for
yeah.
that. Like,
Well, you're
it's that
welcome.
reframing, isn't it? It's like when I say to people, like, never leave it as a full stop, always leave it as a comma. Like, not like whenever now someone says, have you been here? Not yet. Or this, like, even if I don't want to go or I do want to go, I leave it open, leave everything open. So I really, really, really love that. Thank you so much. Um, yeah, and going back, like, just to even strip it back a little bit more, I think just looking at yourself.
Oh yeah.
No words. Because
Yes.
I actually, look, I actually just had to look at myself and I was like, why is this so hard? And I don't know about you, but I feel like before you go inwards, which is ironic because I realized I go inwards and now um whereas before I feel like no one was there, but it's almost like something was there always, like, what are you, like, the noise was so loud, like, what are you doing, like, so even though it's a personal moment with myself, and I could still kind of feel the judgment, of like, yeah. Do you understand what I mean by, like,
That you're
I'm having this personal moment myself, but I'm kind of then judging myself as if someone is watching me, and it's like I had to really, really reprogram all that of, Shelley, this is you right now in this moment. Stop this. This is ridiculous. Like, even the hugging, like what you said, the hugging, like when you say, because, like, yeah, someone could be like, and then it's weird, it's no one is there, but it's like you feel like, why are we feeling like someone is watching us and judging us? Like, this is my body, this is my action. I'm gonna own it and take responsibility for it. And I think there's some real power and beauty in that. So often this before anything needs, like, work. Before the hands even touch,
Absolutely.
it's like, no,
Yeah.
this is your body. You can touch it how you want to touch it.
Well, absolutely. And honestly, before I got to that stage where I created the challenge and then did it, I'd worked a lot on my chatter, my inner talk, my inner critic. And I don't like to banish the inner critic. I don't like to shove her away because that inner critic, whether I like it or not, got me a lot of places.
Exactly.
And it may not have done it in the nicest way, but she got me, she helped get me to where I am today. And so when I finally started realizing, it was, so I was living in London at the time, and this was the first time I had very tangible evidence that what you say in your head impacts everything around you, your life, inside and out. I was walking in London. I'd lived there for a few years at that point, and I mean, London's not the friendliest of cities. I used to walk around on my lunch hour. Nobody would be like, hi, or anything like that. But there was a time when I started to say to myself, I am love, I am light, I am peace. I am love, I am light, I am peace. Eventually it just got to I am love, I am light. And that was on constant play in my head because I was working very deliberately on integrating my inner critic,
Beautiful.
but helping her become something else, right? I asked her, I have another job for you. Do you want to start being more friendly to me? And that's when we started. Yeah. And that's when I really started saying, I'm love, I am light. And what I noticed is people started acting differently to me.
Yeah.
Doors were being opened, smiles were being had, people were waving at me. And it was the first time I went, wow, what has changed here? How I speak to myself.
Beautiful.
And that was what really gave me the courage to keep going with that, to keep playing with, how am I speaking to myself? What am I saying? Down to the very thing of worst case scenario, right? How many times does something happen or something could happen and automatically our brain is like, oh, it's going to get worse, it's going to get worse, it's going to get worse, and this is going to happen. I started playing the upward spiral game. So if something would happen or something would trigger me, I'd be like, well, what if this could happen? And think of the next good thing. And then I would just keep doing that instead of going down. Oh, the worst, the worst, the worst. I'd be like, okay, well, what's the next best thing that could happen? Oh, what's the next best thing that could happen? And it took the time to work on my inner chatter, my inner critic and integrator, have her become my greatest ally, my biggest cheerleader. it took a while to do that. And that's not for everyone. Everyone will take different lengths of time, depends how loud they are, depends what they say, depends your relationship. But when I got to that point and I realized, okay, now my inner critic is my best friend, that's when as well other things became easier too. Because you're right, it has to start in here before we can really move into here, or we must move into here to help with here, right?
Yeah.
So,
but I actually really love that you said that, because actually that is your first, I found the first one you have to unconditionally love. Ironically, is actually, do you know what? The moment when it was like, no, and I was kind of almost fighting against it, like, no, no, no. It was louder and louder and louder. Whereas when I kind of became that loving, nurturing mother to myself and was just like, okay, listen, I know you're trying to protect me, or I know we've always done it this way, but now we're going to do it this way. Here's the hand. Let's go.
Beautiful.
Slowly going into the distance.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's the thing. Like I love that you said that we are here to honor every single version of ourselves, because it was in that, that relationship or something where you did have to be a completely different version in order to just maybe get through that relationship or deal with whatever that was. And I think that's really important, is that the mindset or consciousness or whatever we are at now, we can't judge the previous because we weren't the same version. And so, I just think, wow, like, thank you. Because in you attracting or experiencing that, in order to see what I didn't want, I was able to know what I do want. So thank you for that. Really beautiful.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I think that's part of self-love, like you said, to love all of ourselves, all versions of ourselves, because without these versions of ourselves, where would we be? Right? Absolutely. We may be somebody completely different. We may be somewhere else, but you know what? I like where I am. I'm happy with who I am now. And I wouldn't be this person if I didn't go through all the trials and tribulations, or the relationships that never worked out, to finally get to a point where I had to go inside and learn to love myself so fully that love overflowed. And when that love overflowed and I stopped searching for external validation, stopped searching for the one, and like I offer, I became the one for me. And it was when that final need of, like I said, somebody else to complete me was gone, that I found my perfect partner. And we're very happy together, but I would have never found him, well, you never know, if I didn't go through the journey that I did. Maybe I would have found him, but I would have taken a different journey. I had to go through all of that to become
I love that. And I would love to know what your take is on this, but something that is really close to my heart that I've realized. So I love that you said that about maybe not finding him. So I feel like, and this is just my opinion, and I'd love to know, like I said, your take on it. I feel like there's this whole storyline or fairy tale of, I'm here and the other one, my other half, is wandering around somewhere and I must find him. And like going back to the different versions of ourselves. So for example, a male, okay, that maybe we were attracted to at a certain version. Again, we can't then say, oh, never going to have contact with that person again, because we don't know within that time what transformation they've done. And so I truly believe it's not a person, it's an energy, it's a consciousness. And as we rise, we align with others that are on a similar consciousness. And we also are presented with tests. And that's not saying, again, to downplay anybody, but, do you really want this full cake or you want the crumb? Because you can have the crumb if you want, And it's not, again, picking and choosing, but I think there has to be a minimum. There has to be a minimum standard of, like, So I know this sounds really silly, but for example, I'm not a smoker. I'm not keen on smoking, and then I will constantly attract smokers, and then I'm like, oh, but he's got a kind heart. He's really nice. And it's like, no, Shelley, you don't like smoking. Like it's just a no. It should just be straight away a no. And I think when we are have that clarity, and it's like we are clear in all areas of our life what we're attracting, we draw in more of what we want, but I know we'll still get like just the test to see. I feel it's not a person, and I think there's this kind of twin flame and soulmate, and oh, where is he? And it's like, no, you do the work. The more you up level, you will align with people that are on a similar, whatever you want to call it, frequency, consciousness, and so that's so I love that you said that, because I feel like if he maybe would have entered your life sooner, it depends on the consciousness, we wouldn't have felt worthy enough, or he might not have felt worthy enough. So this is another beautiful thing. Like we don't come as like nothing's ever complete, but we work together at the consciousness we're both at. So yeah, thank you for that.
That's beautiful. I love what you said, and I agree with you. With what, 7 billion people in the world, how can there just be one of them?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
All the lifetimes we've had, how can there just be one? I don't fall for that. And I love what you said, how it's a level, it's an energy, right? It's an energy conscious. And, honestly, that's one thing that's, I don't know if I should get into this too much, but, when we're taught about love, it's like you love your family, you love your friends, you love, you're encouraged to have more than one friend. And obviously, if you have siblings, you love them all. But we're only meant to love like one person ever.
Exactly. Oh,
and that's it. To me, I think that again is something to do with society, but we won't get into that. That's a whole other talk.
No, I agree with you. Yes.
I absolutely agree. And I love what you said with the whole, like, yes, we get up to that energy and we will be tested. I've been tested, like right when I thought, after I finished my challenge, like 4 months later, and I was like, yeah, I'm ready to date again. I'm going to do this. I'm ready. Like I've done all this work. And this wonderful man came into my life. We swept each other off our feet. And then 3 months later, he said, no, this isn't for me. And I went, what the? I thought I finished this pattern. And then I realized, no, actually, that was a test. Are you actually finished with your external validation? And no, and I noticed, I look back at it now and I was like, I was relying on him to create that fun in my life. And it's like, we don't need anyone else to complete us. We are born complete. We are born whole, right? There is no second half of me. I'm a whole person.
Yes, yes. So thank you.
I think that there's multiple people out there that you can attract and have beautiful, beautiful, meaningful relationships with that are perfect for you at that time.
Yes.
And as you continue together with your lives, right? I do believe that. And I think that, you will be tested until you've learned that lesson, and it may get thrown at you again. But it's your opportunity to say, no, I figured it out this time. Beautiful. I'm ready to move 100%. Forward. I'm ready to grow. Yeah.
100%. And usually I ask about your vision for your future, but I feel like your vision already is incredible, and you will 100% achieve it of 10 million, no capping, not even 10 million, no capping, beyond, infinity and beyond. And I'm excited to continue to watch your journey and all that's unfolding for you. And I would 100% recommend everybody to go and look up your challenge. That 100% sounds like to me, even though, okay, it might be simple, but as we know, acts of self-love each day. But I think, I love the idea that I think it will, when we transition from maybe the counting to the embodying, and who's counting anymore?
Well, exactly. I don't do all 10 acts of love per day now, but I do probably 5 or 6 or 7. And then if there's something, a different act of love, right? It's how I just try to be in my life. It's how I try to operate. So I've taken my initial desire to react, act, and communicate with love, and I've tried to embody it as much as possible. But no one's perfect. We all mess up sometimes, or something happens and I may have a knee-jerk reaction. But I'm now at a place in my life where I'll take a look at that and go, okay, next time you can respond a little gentler.
Yeah.
And that can be towards me too. right? It's not always outside. It's still even internal sometimes.
Exactly,
Come on,
exactly.
Colinda, you can be a little more loving towards
Yeah.
yourself.
And I
Yeah.
actually I disagree in the sense of I believe because you are embodying it, that you are
Mm.
doing way beyond, because they're just not consciously
Ah,
doing it. Because I feel like because you're embodying it, every pretty much most things you're going to be doing are going to be of love. So
oh,
okay, so
thank you.
just to not to conclude, this has been absolutely beautiful. Do you have any final words that you would like to share?
I just think that if you can find some acts of love that you can integrate into your day, it doesn't have to be the ones in my book or in my challenge. It can be what's meaningful to you. And just take the time daily to do those consciously and deliberately. You will notice a change in your life and you'll notice a change in the people around you because you're just generating more love. And that's a really good thing for us in our world.
Beautiful, absolutely. And I will put your all the links to your book, your website, your courses. I will put it all in the notes. And I'm excited as I said, to continue watching your growth and all you're doing. It's been an absolute blessing. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I've had such an enjoyable time and I really appreciate your podcast. I appreciate what you do and I just appreciate you. And thank you for having me on your show. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Mm.